Everybody, hello. Jessica Coulter here, CEO and founder of Ace Cookie Tutoring. Today, we are continuing our myth video series about the Great Locker Cleanout at the end of the school year. So let's focus on digital files today. So moms and dads that are watching, how would you describe your teen's computer, their iPad, their whatever they're using for their schoolwork? Would you say that their desktop is covered in random projects, random documents, or are they pretty organized? They have files. I want to know. Drop your description down below, maybe a one word, a rating, whatever you'd like to tell me. Pretty much want to know if their desktops are covered in a bunch of icons. That's the big thing. So let's start with that before we really get going as to why this is a myth, that these files, these documents don't need to be organized. I want you to know I have a pretty awesome Facebook group, and we dive into organization as one of the study skills that I teach students as a tutor. And, if you're not a member, I want you in the group called Teaching Teens to Love Learning. So, you've told me how your teens are doing when it comes to their electronic devices. And I got to tell you that if it's like a lot of students, they're not organized when it comes to paper. And that means they're also not organized when it comes to their Chromebooks, their iPads, their whatever, like I said, computers, things they're using for school. Because pretty much every student I'm working with right now that I'm tutoring, they have something from school. And as a substitute teacher, I see so many different types of computers, tablets, whatever, in school. So it's pretty amazing to me. We're talking about this because at the end of the school year, just like I've mentioned earlier this week in other videos, a lot of kids just want to get rid of everything. And that's not what I want to have happen. What we need to encourage your teens to do now, before they just start clicking delete, start dragging things through cycle bin, is help them condense. Okay, so your teen might have things on his desktop, he might have things in a documents folder, he might have things on thumb drives or flash drives, he might have things saved on Google Drive. There could be things a lot of different places, at school, at home, all sorts of places. So that is step number one, is I want your teens, before they start deleting, to really condense. I want them to see what they have. Okay. Now, I don't want to go into too many details here on the how to organize. That's what I do in my program, Love to Learn. And it's also something we talk a lot about in my group. But just know your teens need to condense. So they need to condense by deciding, okay, am I doing this by semester? Am I doing this by class? And then am I going farther than that? Am I going to say, okay, this is everything I've done in math this semester? Then should I take it farther, do it versus projects, versus notes, versus whatever, okay? So I want your teen to figure out what's where and move everything to one location. Okay, so that's step number one, possibly step number 1 and 2. Figure out what your teens have. Help them decide, okay, do you have things saved on the family computer? Do you have things saved on your hard drive? Do you have things saved on Google Drive? And we've got to do this sooner rather than later, because I got to tell you, if your teen's not going to be in the same school next year, that's a concern. Can also tell you that pretty much every school I know of, the teens turn in their devices before the end of the school year. And yeah, they have a student account. Yeah, they probably will have the same username next year if they're in the same district. But if they get a new device, which definitely happens in that transition from middle school to high school, there's no guarantee what's on the computer now is going to be available to them next year. Okay. So I have a couple more pieces of information I want to share with you about digital files, about the cleanup. Before I do, though, I want to encourage you to join me in my Facebook group. I want you as a follower of my Facebook business page, Ace Cookie Tutoring, and I want you as a subscriber of my YouTube channel, Ace Cookie Tutoring, because I'm live right now on YouTube and on Facebook, and I go live at least 5 times a week in both places. So I hope to see you so we can talk in real time, and so I can take your suggestions and your comments and help you as much as possible. So let's get back to it here. Let's talk more about digital files. Do know that part of the reason I don't want your teens to get rid of everything is something that's going to help them now might also help them a couple of years from now. We talked about this with the paper notes and with the notebooks and the paper things, but it also applies to electronic notes, electronic papers and assignments. I can tell you as a student that more than once I was able to reuse papers, reuse different presentations. It might be that freshman level class, has this requirement, whereas by the time you get to senior year, you've got to buff it up. You need to add more sources. You need to make it a longer paper. You need to slightly tweak the presentation to meet the new teacher's requirements. But that's a lot easier, the tweaking is, than it is to start from scratch. And also consider this, your team did something maybe in high school that he loved, but could have done more. Well, in college, if a paper presentation, a topic comes up and your team can take that research he started in high school further, because maybe he was really interested in it and just didn't have to take it further, so he didn't. Or maybe it's an opportunity to see, hey, is this the direction I want to go with my career? Is this something that I've always wanted to learn more about? But that can only happen, easily anyway, if your teen still has those files, still has everything saved. So definitely encourage your teens not to just delete things, to not just drag everything on their desktop to the recycle bin. Encourage your teens to condense it, to figure out, okay, is everything going on Google Drive? Is everything going on the Thumb Drive? Where am I putting my digital files? Which ones am I saving? The reason to condense is also to get rid of duplicate files and maybe things that were half saved or half started. I always encourage saving the final products. If you're worried about, this is just too much, definitely final products are bare minimum to keep for both electronic and paper. But anyway, I hope this helps, guys. I want to answer your questions. I want to help your teens get more organized. So if you're not already a member of my Facebook group, click the link in the description, answer a couple questions so you can join us. And I got to tell you, if you want your teens to love learning, we've got to teach them how to learn. And this whole concept of having a clean locker, clean electronic device for school, it comes down to organization, which is just one of the 9 study skills that I teach in my Facebook group. So have an awesome night. I'll see you soon. And remember, click the link in the description. Have a good night.